Do you ever have those internal conflicts where your head says one thing but your heart says another? For instance, you're looking at a new pair of shoes which would go perfectly with that dress for the next networking meeting. Once the voice in your head is screaming, buy them, they will look gorgeous on you. But there's another voice in your head that is reminding you you don't have the spare money because you have bills that need to be paid. And yet that other voice of yours really, really wants those new heels. For some people, this form of stress, this internal conflict, is an everyday part of business life and one we have just come to accept as part of our personalities. What if I told you today's guest's mission in life is to solve this internal conflict that is going on in your head, and that she believes this stress and anxiety, this internal conflict, actually stems from childhood trauma and can be healed? Today on the Hot and Healthy in Business show, our expert, Chey Bodhi, is going to share with us her own story of trauma and how she learnt to be free of this internal conflict through her modality of choice, hypnotherapy. Welcome to the show, Chey.
Thanks, Nicole. It's great to be here.
I'm really pleased about today's topic. I think it's going to help a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling that don't need to struggle.
Absolutely. And a lot of the time we don't realise that conflict's going on inside us. You know, it's just happening at the subconscious level. And the example you've used here is probably an example that people can connect to, or certainly women can connect to, that's a real thing that happens and they're aware of that. But this conflict goes on for all sorts of things in their business, and that is something that can hold them in procrastination for days, weeks, months, or even years.
So how did you get into hypnotherapy and why specialise in childhood trauma?
So getting into hypnotherapy was a process. I, many moons ago, was a CFO for corporate, and originally went into business, helping business owners grow their businesses. So mentoring business owners on how to build their business, how to define their market better, and move forward in the direction that they'd chosen, that they wanted to go. And in doing that for many years, what I realised is the biggest challenge that they faced was their own thinking, their own mindset, that internal conflict. And having studied many different forms of therapy and utilised it all on myself and various clients, hypnotherapy was the one that I found was the fastest path to getting a solution for that, a long-term solution for that. So why childhood trauma is because I've experienced it, you know, and that's not something I really want to focus on here today because that's just an experience in life. However, it helped me define what was going on. It helps me understand what people are experiencing. And trauma isn't always what everybody thinks it is. People often think trauma is the big stuff. But when we realise that as a child, that you haven't yet developed reasoning, you haven't yet developed cognitive function in your thinking to rationalise an experience. So quite often it can be something as an adult you go, well, why would that be impacting me for the rest of my life? Because it appears to be such a small thing. But it does, because you weren't rational then, you weren't reasoning, you didn't have that function in your thinking and in your mind. And that can hold you back for the rest of your life until it's identified and released at that point.
Okay, so let's use the example of it's a simple little one, but the internal conflict on should I buy the shoes, should I not buy the shoes, I have to pay a bill, I really want the shoes. How is that connected to something that might have happened in your childhood?
Well, it could be around lack. You know, it could be potentially, you could have come from a family that struggled financially, and that you did without a lot of the time. It could be linked to low self-worth, that, well, I'm not worth spending that amount of money. I need to spend that amount of money on all the rational things in life, the logical things in life, and not rewarding yourself for the really great work that you're doing, how hard you're working. And I often say to clients, we always focus on how far we are from our goal, how far we are from where we want to be in our business and our life. But we also need to look back and see how far we've come and acknowledge ourselves for that journey and reward ourselves for that. The pat on the back, the new shoes, the nice dress, the bottle of champagne,
She's talking my language.
Absolutely.
So looking at some of the issues that women might be carrying around from experiences in their childhood. They might not be aware of how they're showing up. So how does hypnotherapy, does it change the past? How does it impact the future if they go through sessions with you through the hypnotherapy?
No, it can't change the past. The past is the past. But it takes the power away. So an analogy I often explain to clients, it's like you've got a hook in your subconscious mind. So if you think about, you've gone fishing and you've caught the fish, and it's got the hook in its mouth. So now you take the hook out and you either throw the fish back or it becomes dinner. But if you don't unhook that and then you continue to go twang, twang, twang on that line, it's not the most pleasant analogy, but people get it.
Yeah.
That when we unhook that hook from the subconscious mind, that can heal. While it's still embedded in the subconscious mind, it can't heal. It just, every time something happens that impacts that hook, that kind of pushes that button, it creates more pain and more hurt.
You're explaining it, and what's coming up for me is a sense of soothing, healing, ease, rather than struggling against, this hook.
That's right,
It's
because
just
we
the
do.
relief that it's gone. I love it.
Because we do fight against it. And often we don't even know where it's come from.
And we don't need to, do we? When people do hypnotherapy sessions with you, do they need to know what it is they're coming to?
They get an understanding. They don't have to experience the trauma again. But they get an understanding, and what it is, you're getting an understanding as an adult now with reasoning and logic and cognitive function, whereas that occurrence may have occurred as a small child. And they don't even remember, because sometimes it's not even an important event that's occurred. It can be as simple as, mum's at the kitchen bench with a knife cutting things up for dinner, and the little one's like, mummy, 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 I want your attention, and mummy goes, not now, and pushes them away. Now, if the child's in a particularly vulnerable state, and the worst thing you can do with a child is deny it attention, deny it love. Now, that's not the mother's fault. She's trying to keep the child safe for cutting things with a knife. But the child doesn't understand, mum's got a knife and she's trying to protect me. All the child understands is, I'm being rejected. Now, that won't impact every child, but it will impact some children. And that can impact rejection, fear of failure, being unloved, self-worth.
So that might show up later in life in business by maybe not being as successful as they could be, or struggling against themselves to achieve the level of success they want, because they're fighting against all these internal belief systems. And so they work with you. What's the process?
So we have a really good chat.
Like it. So painless.
Absolutely. So for the first session, we really deep dive into what is the issue now? What is it that is holding you back, and how is that presenting in your life? And then we look at, okay, what would you want instead?
So to use an example, would it be they might come to you and say, listen, I'm not attracting enough abundance, or I'm not having as, I find sales uncomfortable, or I'm undercharging, or I'm saying yes to too much and not focusing on what's important. I'm trying to please everybody and not focus in my business. I'm eating too much or drinking too much. Maybe I'm smoking too much because that's the stress management.
Yep.
So they're coming to you with the current state
That's right.
that's not working, but they don't necessarily need to know or go too far into the story of the past.
We will visit it, but we visit it from a different perspective. So they're not going into it. We will look for where it began.
Okay.
And the subconscious mind will offer where it
I
began.
like it.
And we're giving them resources to carry them forward. So there is a part of them that is a wounded child, but that's only a part of them. So we talk about the internal conflict. You know, our personality and our ego is made up of many parts. So when somebody comes to see me, they're seeing the therapist. You know, that's a therapist part of me. But I'm also a mother and a sister and a puppy owner and a networker. And, you know, so we all have many, many parts that make up our personality and our ego. It's only one small part that can be out of balance, and that's all it is. It's out of balance with the other parts. When we bring that balance back, problem solved.
I love it. I love it. So, what are some of the tips that you can share in terms of someone who's tuning into this? A couple little tips about how they can balance that internal conflict. Obviously, come and see you for that hook removal healing process. But what are some of the little tips they could use in the meantime?
Okay, so when people find themselves in conflict or overwhelm or fear, their energy is outside of their body. And I call it, it's like static, like white noise. That's what's going on inside their body. Because all their energy's out here worrying about what might happen, what the future, the past, the this, what if I do this, what if I do that. So all of your energy's out here. So you can't think clearly and reach a decision when all of your energy's out there. So I have a little process, and it's just simply put one hand over the heart and the other hand over the heart.
Doesn't matter which one first.
Doesn't matter. And when you do that, your energy will immediately come back into your body. And then you can either close your eyes or have them open and just take 3 deep, slow breaths in and out.
This is really good if you're listening to the podcast. You can't
Yeah.
see what we're doing. We do actually have our hands over our heart.
And we're breathing now.
Yeah, and I feel a bit different already.
You do.
I can even hear the tone in my voice has changed slightly.
Absolutely.
So this is bringing this frenetic, panicky, anxiety,
So it's,
grabby kind of external.
it's just centering and grounding yourself.
I like it.
So it pulls all your energy back into your center, and energy just goes down, and you can think rationally and clearly. You know, and the overwhelm and the fear dissipates. So it's quick and simple. You can be in a meeting and feeling a bit stressed, and all you have to do is this.
Right, no one's really...
Nobody even knows.
Right.
You can pay attention, you can sit, and you can just take a couple of breaths. Nobody even notices. It's subterfuge.
Those people who are watching this video, they're going to know. They're on the inside. I like that. I actually feel like I've just given myself a lovely hug.
Absolutely.
So what sort of things do people come to you for? I know that many people have heard of hypnotherapy for giving up smoking. What sort of things in business can they come to you for?
Okay, so for business, it's more about keeping them connected to their future. So, letting anything that's blocking them. So the example you used before, people struggle with selling or asking for what they're worth. Well, that's absolutely self-worth, So if you don't think you're worth that, then you're not going to ask for that.
Right. And you're not going to attract that, are you?
Absolutely not.
People that value worth.
If you think you're worth $10 an hour, they'll be the clients you will attract. If you think you're worth $1,000 an hour, they will be the clients that you'll attract. And there's people at both ends of the spectrum out there, so there's proof that both exist. So it's about peeling away the layers, the beliefs, the habits that aren't supporting you to be where you want to be in business.
So it's as simple as booking a session with you. They sit down with you, you go through some of the things that are showing up in their life or not showing up in their life at the moment, finding out what it was in the past, and then what's the actual treatment process?
Well, hypnotherapy.
And you get them comfortable?
Yeah, so as I said, we have a really good chat first, because this is all about trust. What I do is all about trust. So people need to feel that they can trust me, that I'm not going to turn them into a chicken, honest.
Unless you want to be turned into a chicken.
Or anything like that. So it's about honest, open communication, trust. Now, a lot of people think that hypnosis, that they won't remember anything, that they can be made to do things that they don't want to do, that it's mind control. And it's not. Nobody, whether you're in hypnosis or not, can make you do anything that is against your morals, ethics, personality, style. You will remember the majority of the session, because if I was talking to you and you didn't, it would be a waste of time. So we actually go into a hypnotic state twice a day naturally, and that's as we go to sleep, the last brainwave frequency that we're in before we go to sleep, and as we're waking up. It's called the theta state, and it's actually hyper focused, where you really are focused and you're very aware. So have you ever experienced when you're nearly asleep and you'll hear a sound and you're almost vertical beside the bed? You just, that's that state. So you're going to hear everything I say. If I say to you, strip off and run out into the street, you're not going to do it unless you have a predisposition to do that.
If that's your thing.
If that's your thing.
Right.
That's right. So, which is how the stage hypnotists get them to do what they do. Because it's their thing.
Okay, so that they set that up in such a way to manipulate the right people to get on stage who are open and receptive to that, and actually in their subconscious mind somewhere they do want to cluck like a chicken on stage.
Well, they're there to have fun.
Right. And that's not, it's a safe environment when they're doing a session with you, and they can fully trust themselves.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I'm there to hold the space, keep them safe and guide them, but it's a partnership. So I don't do it to anybody. I do it with. So it's not me fixing anybody. We're working together as a team to help people move forward. And they need to bring their commitment, and responsibility to that partnership, as I do. And then magic happens.
I love the magic part. And I love the fact that it's just so relaxing, and it's effortless release of stuff that might be holding you back or you've been carrying around, and you feel lighter at the other end of it. And it's as simple as you have the conversation, work out what you're going to work on, get into a relaxed state. There's nothing weird going on there. It's just conversation and just getting your body nice and relaxed, so you can stop being distracted by all the busyness of life and the world. And then you're having a conversation with their subconscious mind in partnership with them to clear and heal and let go of any hooks.
That's right.
And then you bring them out of a relaxed state, and they're back in the present moment going, I feel better. And is everything done there and then?
No, well, after the session we'll have a little quick chat about how they're feeling, also to make sure they're fully grounded, present, back in their body before they leave. and then off they go out into the world. So the session will then continue to work and be fully integrated. So look, I've had some clients say, you know, I had to go and have a sleep. I was, you know, really tired. And other clients have said I was on fire. And, you know, I've gone and done a million things. So everybody's different, and how they respond.
Right.
And how long they feel in themselves that the process has continued to carry on for.
How exciting. I think it's great. So how do you, like, what techniques do you use in your own life? Because you're a business owner, you've had a big life, you take care of other people, you're growing and serving your business. How do you avoid burning out?
Well, I walk my talk. So every 6 weeks, like clockwork, I also have a therapist that I go to for a session. And I also use many different modalities for myself. So, you know, I support my body physically, and I support my mind, and I support my emotions. Nutritional support, obviously, exercise. What else do I do?
I think all therapists, like for example, even coaches have coaches. I have two. I have one for my business and one for my personal life. There's obviously an overlap between the two because we are our businesses and our businesses support our life, and for me they're all integrated.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think it's really important that you have your own hypnotherapist.
That's just one of my team.
Wow.
So I have my own hypnotherapist, I have my own naturopath, you know, healers, doctors.
I love how you said that.
Name it.
In my team.
Well, they are. They're my team.
Yeah.
And they have supported me through enormous growth and changes in my life. So at the minimum, I see one therapist every 6 weeks.
Wow.
But there'll be other ones dotted around that throughout life.
I love it.
Because it's part of making sure I can't be there to hold the space for somebody else if I'm not working on me.
Right.
You know, and as you said, even as coaches, you need to process.
Absolutely.
And let that go. So I also use the hands over the heart. I use many of the tools and skills that I'm trained in on a daily basis.
Fantastic. I love it, walking your talk. And what's a life tip you would like to leave the audience with?
Okay, so I find a lot of, particularly I guess, women in business, they try to do everything. You know, and they have a really hard time saying no to people. Because that's what we do. So a way I found that was, you know, been there, done that, so I know what it's like. The way I found was easy to transition out of that was when you get that phone call of, you know, hey, would you help me do this, or can you do that? And whether it be family, whether it be business associates, instead of answering on the spot, because often we feel that we have to answer on the spot, is I just say, hey, I haven't got my diary with me at the moment. Can I give you a call back in however long that needs to be? For you to hang up the phone, check your diary, yes, but also check in with yourself of, does this make me sing or does this make me cry? And then you can call back with, and I go, it's one of three answers. Yes, I would absolutely love to do that for you, and I can do it then, that's great. Or, I would love to do that for you, but can we do it at another time?
That's a good one.
And the third option is, I'm really sorry, I'm fully booked, and I just can't fit that into my schedule at the moment. And then people don't feel that they're getting the brush off. They feel that they've been given due consideration to their request, and it gives you time to step back and go, hang on, what do I really want to do?
I like that. Buying a little bit of time so that you can be a little bit... I definitely say yes very quickly. And this is a great tip that I'm going to be using myself. Thank you for that.
No, my pleasure.
And thank you for being a guest on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to getting this message out into the world and for all of the people watching this to get in contact with you and be free. Be free. Don't carry that stuff of the past around with you. You don't need to.
No.
Go see Chey.
Fly.
If you like this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button and go and check out all our other videos. I'll see you in the next one.